From the bustling markets of Medina to the grand halls of Islamic courts in Andalusia, one man's scholarship became the foundation for a school of thought that would shape the laws of North Africa, West Africa, and beyond. His name was Imam Malik ibn Anas. At a time when knowledge was passed from heart to heart, when students would travel for months just to ask one question, Imam Malik's dedication to preserving the authentic teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, became legendary. But how did a boy born into a modest household in Medina grow up to shape the religious practices of millions across continents? This is the story of how one scholar's principles, wisdom, and sacrifices gave birth to one of the four major schools of Islamic jurisprudence, the Maliki madhab. Malik ibn Anas was born in the city of Medina in the year 711 CE, which corresponds to 93 AH in the Islamic calendar. Medina wasn't just any city. It was the city of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the city of his companions and a living center of Islamic knowledge. Malik was born into a family that respected knowledge and held tightly to tradition. His grandfather, Abu Amir, was a companion of the Prophet, and his father was a pious man known for his honesty. But it was Imam Malik's mother who played the biggest role in shaping his early life. She once dressed him in clean clothes and placed a turban on his head and told him, "Go to Rabia and learn from his manners before you learn from his knowledge." That single piece of advice defined the rest of his life. From a young age, Malik was curious. He would ask questions, observe the scholars of Medina, and spend hours in study circles. In a time when there were no printed books and no recording devices, knowledge was preserved through memory and discipline. He sat with some of the most prominent scholars of his time, including Nafi, the freed slave of Abdullah ibn Umar, who was a direct student of the Prophet, peace be upon him. This meant that Malik learned from someone who learned from a companion of the Prophet, a golden chain of transmission that would give his teachings unmatched authenticity. He studied under over 900 scholars throughout his life, and he took every narration seriously, often refusing to report a hadith unless he was sure of its authenticity. Malik was known for his composure and his cautious attitude towards issuing religious verdicts. Unlike some who rush to answer questions, he was careful. He once said, "I did not start giving fatwas until 70 scholars of Medina testified that I was worthy." In today's world of rapid answers and instant opinions, this level of patience and humility is a lesson in itself. Imam Malik understood the weight of speaking on behalf of religion. He often said, "I don't know," even when asked by kings and governors. In fact, there are records where he responded to dozens of questions by saying, "I don't know," emphasizing that admitting ignorance was better than misleading the Ummah. As he grew in scholarship, Imam Malik became a central figure in Medina. His gatherings were revered. His students came from all over the Muslim world. Among them were future scholars, judges, and even kings. One of the most famous among them was Imam Ash-Shafi'i, who would go on to become the founder of the Shafi'i school of thought. Another significant student was Harun al-Rashid, the Abbasid caliph, who once asked Malik to come to his palace to teach his sons. Malik refused, saying, "Knowledge is to be sought. It does not come to people." Eventually, the caliph had to send his sons to Malik's mosque like any other student. This unwavering commitment to the dignity of knowledge elevated Malik in the eyes of both the common man and the elite. But Imam Malik's influence didn't stop with his lectures. His most famous contribution was his book known as Al-Muwatta, which means the well-trodden path. This book wasn't just a collection of hadiths. It was a carefully curated manual of Islamic law, practice, and ethics. Malik spent over 40 years compiling it, editing it, and reviewing every single narration included. What made Al-Muwatta special was not only the hadiths it contained, but the comments and legal reasoning provided by Malik himself. It served as a comprehensive guide for Muslims, especially those in Medina. Over time, the Muwatta became the blueprint for what we now call the Maliki school of thought. The Maliki school is unique in that it places heavy emphasis on the practices of the people of Medina. Malik believed that the people of Medina preserved the Sunnah of the Prophet in their daily lives. Because they lived where the Prophet lived, prayed where he prayed, and interacted with his companions, their collective practice carried weight. So in legal matters where there was no clear verse or hadith, Malik would look to the customary practices of Medina's people as a form of evidence. This principle, called Amal Ahl al-Madina, became a distinctive feature of Maliki jurisprudence and set it apart from the other three schools. But Imam Malik's life wasn't without hardship. During the reign of the Abbasid caliphs, a political conflict emerged around the issue of allegiance and the forced taking of oaths. Imam Malik issued a fatwa that people who were forced to take oaths under pressure could have their oaths invalidated. This opinion clashed with the official view of the ruling government. As a result, Imam Malik was arrested, beaten, and dragged through the streets of Medina. Despite the physical and emotional pain, he never retracted his opinion. That episode showed the world that Malik wasn't just a scholar, he was a man of principle, someone who stood firm in the face of oppression. His courage inspired many and earned him respect across the Islamic world. After this trial, his fame grew even more. His school of thought began to spread not only in Arabia but also into North Africa, Andalusia, modern-day Spain, and even parts of Central and West Africa. As Islam expanded, rulers and scholars in these regions adopted the Maliki school for its clarity, authenticity, and practicality. In places like Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Mali, Maliki fiqh became part of the state's judicial system. And even today, more than a millennium later, the Maliki school remains one of the most widely followed schools in the Muslim world. Imam Malik's personal life was one of discipline, simplicity, and reflection. He was known for wearing white and for keeping a sense of calm in his demeanor. He avoided engaging in politics unless it was necessary to uphold justice. He was extremely careful with his tongue and avoided gossip and idle talk. When asked about his secret to knowledge, he once said, "Whatever reached me from the Prophet, I clung to it. That is my path." That clarity of purpose gave his work enduring power. When Imam Malik passed away in the year 795 CE, the city of Medina mourned deeply. Thousands attended his funeral. He was buried in the famous Jannat al-Baqi cemetery, among other noble companions and scholars of Islam. His legacy, however, did not end with his death. It lived on in his students, in the pages of Al-Muwatta, and in the Maliki madhab that continues to guide millions of Muslims in legal, ethical, and spiritual matters. The Maliki school's legacy is not just found in legal rulings, but also in the cultural and intellectual flowering of the Muslim world. In Andalusia, Maliki scholars contributed to science, medicine, astronomy, and architecture while staying grounded in Islamic ethics. In Timbuktu, Mali, once a great center of Islamic learning, Maliki jurists helped build an educational tradition that would last for centuries. These weren't just scholars. They were architects of civilizations, all inspired by the example set by Imam Malik. What makes Imam Malik's story so powerful is that he never sought fame or control. He didn't try to create a school in his name. He simply tried to preserve the truth as he had received it. It was his sincerity, consistency, and unwavering love for the Prophet, peace be upon him, that made his legacy unshakable. Unlike many figures in history who are remembered for their battles or buildings, Malik is remembered for his silence when he didn't know, and his firmness when he did. He is remembered not for how loud he was, but for how true he was. Today, when we face questions about right and wrong, when we seek to navigate the complexities of modern life while staying true to our faith, the wisdom of Imam Malik offers guidance. His teachings remind us that knowledge must come with humility, that justice must come with compassion, and that truth must come with courage. From Medina to Morocco, from Mali to Spain, his footsteps echo in the hearts of believers who strive to walk the path he illuminated. This is the story of Imam Malik, scholar of Medina, compiler of Al-Muwatta, founder of the Maliki school, and a man whose knowledge was matched only by his integrity. His life teaches us that one person, armed with sincerity and wisdom, can change the course of history. His story is not just a lesson in law, but a reminder of how faith, courage, and dedication can leave a mark on the world forever.